Hello, and welcome back to the Breaking the Ice podcast. This is episode 2. I am one of the hosts, Elliott Draga, joined by my two esteemed co-hosts here, Lloyd Overton and Mark Colonnese. Lloyd,
Hello.
Mark, how are you guys doing today?
Good, Elliott. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. We have your heat wave has crossed the Atlantic. So
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Well, but I mean, we invested in air conditioners over here and in infrastructure to keep us cool. So we may be contributing to the problem, but my house is cool, so I'm not sweating.
As long as you're all
How are you
right.
guys doing? Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, definitely a lot cooler this week. Thankfully, I did invest in a portable air conditioning unit, which I think I mentioned to you guys last week. So other than the fact we're all sleeping in one room for 2 nights, we were all very cold. In fact, so much so that I had to turn the air conditioning down. So yeah, just to wind people up even more that might be watching.
Yeah, I mean, Lloyd, I know you have 2 teenage boys, so that sounds like an absolute nightmare. Far worse than the heat wave.
Without a doubt. It's just the challenge I've got now is that the youngest one now seems to think that the front room downstairs is a new bedroom, and he seems to have moved in there permanently. So I've got to try and encourage him back up to his bedroom.
So were you all camping in the front room? Was that?
We was, except for the dog. He didn't get an invite, unfortunately. He had to suffer it somewhat in the hallway. But yeah, we were all bunkered down in there for a few days.
Oh, right. That's
Lloyd,
cool.
if you
It's
just
like
put some dirty dishes or some homework in that room, you'll chase him out. It's no
That's
problem.
a good point. Or a lock on the door.
There. Yeah. Lloyd, I noticed you've got your football jersey on. At time of recording, we're about, I don't know, 90 minutes from kickoff against the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Yeah, exactly that. 90 minutes from the last 16, I hope.
Yeah.
Let's hope they can be a bit more convincing in the first half. So I've still got some fingernails left in the second half because it's definitely going to be a bit more stressful now that we're in the knockout stages. I mean, they've got the quality, they've got the players. They just need to kind of execute on the day. So hopefully now that the kind of the stakes are a bit higher, they'll kind of pull their weight and push a bit harder and definitely be a bit more dynamic coming forward in that final third. That's the plan.
do I have to announce the squad yet?
It's a good point, actually. I haven't actually looked. I would assume that it's probably in the next. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
probably
they
in the next
have.
half an hour or
They've
so.
done it. Yeah.
Any surprises?
King Spence at right back.
I say this as if I
don't know.
who any of these guys are. Listen. Yeah, I would hope that you join the esteemed football nation of Canada in the next round.
Who have you got next? Who?
Morocco.
Okay, we'll make the most of it.
They were a bit of a...
I'm wearing some Canada gear today. Actually, again, day of recording, July 1st, is Canada Day. It's our
Perfect.
nation's birthday. Yes, so it's a national holiday, and I chose to spend it with you two chaps.
Are you
so
having
you're very
some
welcome.
poutine later?
Absolutely not. No chance of that.
Lloyd, it's cheesy chips. If you didn't know, national dish.
You
Yeah.
could never turn down cheesy chips, Mark.
Gosh.
You've got to layer the
I
cheese
don't-
in, though. Just on top is not good enough.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. But I don't know how that became like a national thing within Canada. I don't know.
Well, you're only a young country. I mean, you got plenty of time to get it right. You know, it's not bad. Not bad for a first attempt, I would say.
1867. So I think we're 159 today. Look pretty good for 159, if my mental math is correct.
Agreed.
What else is new? What's going on with you guys?
Well, I'm busy doing the pet thing. Lots of activity in that area. Some interest from the other side of the planet, which is interesting. So we'll see how that plans out. Yes, that's me.
Yeah.
And I am busy with another RFP. I should be kind of head of RFPs, I think, at the moment, because I've kind of bounced from one to the other to the other. So yeah, I mean, definitely a pro by now, without a doubt. But it's it's time consuming, and it just you guys have done plenty, I know, but.
Yeah, the 3 worst letters in sales, right? RFP. Absolutely horrendous. Actually, maybe
Isn't
RFI.
RFI is
RFI is worse. Yeah, RFI is worse because it's only slightly less work for significantly less probability.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, in fairness, this one's pretty well laid out. So they've put some firm dates. It is as far as RFPs goes, it's a good one actually. I'm getting stuck into it, and so far so good. We're looking like we're kind of ticking plenty of boxes.
Good.
How about you?
What's new with me, other than hoping that there's no screaming kids on the other side of this wall because they're both home and it's summer holidays now. Today, July 1st,
Already?
is Canada. It's Canada's birthday, but it's also, very excitingly, as a North American, it is when all of the free agency happens in the National Hockey League and the National Basketball Association. And so where I live, Toronto, we have teams in bad teams, but we have teams in both of those leagues. And so what happens is players sign contracts, those contracts expire, and then they become a free agent and they can sign anywhere they want. And so it's an exciting day as a sports fan, seeing where all these free agents end up on new rosters, because there's usually a ton of activity on day one, and then it all kind of peters off. So I will be eagerly watching that while I also watch England and Congo play.
I noticed that as well, actually, because we're getting into holiday season in the insurance industry. Everyone goes away at the same time, or a lot of people do, with kids certainly in the school holidays. And we're going to the US this year. And I was kind of like, right, while we're there, let's see if we can pick an American sport, baseball, basketball, just absolutely anything. But it's kind of like off season for everything. So no joy.
Baseball season is on while you're there.
It is.
But where you're going, I don't think you want to watch the baseball team. So you're better off just kind of cruising the Pacific Coast Highway and enjoying it. Maybe go surfing or play some golf.
Driving past Pebble Beach, maybe I'll nip in there for a few holes.
Yeah.
yeah. Do they sell you a per hole rate instead of a per round rate? Because I think the per round rate's steep.
Oh my God. I mean, I've actually been in there once before. And been and had a look at the 18th hole, and God knows how much it costs. But it's quite an open course, actually. You can go in and have a wander around. You can go in the pro shop. You can go in the bar and stuff. But yeah, I will look. But yeah, the wife's definitely not going to want to be playing any holes, let alone one hole at Pebble Beach, as much as it's a nice place to go visit.
Did I ever tell you my story about, I was in Arizona once, and I was in Scottsdale, Arizona, where there's a pretty famous tournament that's held, the Waste Management Open, which is the one where all they set up the crazy stanchions.
Stadium hole.
The stadium hole, and everybody throws their beer bottles on the course and stuff. It's mayhem, right? But it's a beautiful course, and Scottsdale's a nice city. So I was there, and my dad was there with me, and so we decided to play. It was about a month after the tournament. We decided to play at the stadium course. And the way the course is laid out, you drive up this road, and then there's the stadium course on one side, and then there is like a private members only course on the other side. And a couple of days before we were meant to tee off, some guy crashed his private plane onto the other course. So horrible, obviously, feel terrible about the situation for that guy, but I had to call and ask if we still had our tee time. And so I called and I was like, I don't know how to ask you this question. I feel really bad, but is the course open? And the lady was so wonderful working there. She's like, you have no idea how many people have called. Don't worry about it. Yes, we're still open. So we played the course, beautiful course. But when you get to the 16th hole, which is where they set up the stadium, because it was a month after the tournament was played, they had obviously ripped all of that out and had just laid sod down. And it was the most underwhelming, because without all of that stuff around, it's just like, I don't know, 140-yard par three. Nothing exciting about it. I think they put that stuff up on that hole because it's otherwise such an unimpressive hole. But yeah, great course.
You saying that, I just had a picture in my head that you was actually going to say that it was like a scene from Happy Gilmore, and you was, needing to kind of ricochet it off of something to get it on the green and go around the hazard. But yeah, thankfully,
I definitely did hit every cactus and tree on the course. Like, that's, if you've ever played golf with me, right? I mean, I can't keep the ball straight, but unintentionally, for sure. So listen, guys, I thought today we could just talk about, what's new in the news. Picked a few articles to scan through. Just an open discussion. I read there was, I think it was Allianz that published their global market stats for the insurance market recently. And I think overall, the highlight from what I was reading was that premiums rose about 7% in 2025 overall. And then they sort of go into the distribution. They said the life insurance market globally is the biggest at about 2.8 trillion, or 2.8 Elon Musk's, as I now
Not
denominate
anymore.
currency.
It's gone down.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, he's come down, eh? Post IPO, the crash has happened. Well, I'll buy on the dip.
Violins out.
Yeah.
My heart bleeds.
Actually, funny on that. I was listening to a podcast this morning, and the guy was trying to quantify a trillion, and he was saying, if you denominate time, or if you denominate sort of like million, billion, and trillion you can't even do it in days now, because if you do it in days, a trillion is like 3.2 million years or something. So then if you do it in seconds, a million seconds is like a week and a half, a billion seconds is 32 years, and a trillion seconds is 32,000 years.
My God.
Just to put in scale, right? So yeah, anyways, so
Maybe
2.8 trillion.
Maybe that's the kind of, average age on the planet he arrives from. He needs that much money.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just hitting his stride now, eh?
Exactly. He's in his prime years.
Yeah. It's gonna be crazy, 400 episodes from now when he's a guest, and I'm sure he'll have listened to every one of these, and yeah. Anyways, so yeah, life insurance 2.8. P&C was 2.3, and health was 1.7 trillion, just to give an idea of the relative distribution of the three. And then in terms of growth stats for 2025, P&C had only grown 3.8%, which is just a little bit above inflation. I think life was the sort of middle growth one at around 7%. And then I think global health premiums grew about 10%. So again, 3.8 for P&C, 7 for life, and about 10% for health. I'm just curious to get your guys' initial take on that. There were some other interesting stats in the article, but yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds good, right? It's booming. Everybody's rich, champagne all round. I guess the challenge with all of this is that it's probably not all just growth in the positive sense. I think when you see premiums going up, it doesn't always mean that everyone's in the insurance industry is having a great time. I think you guys will know just as much as I do. Claims are becoming more expensive. I'm pretty sure Iran and Ukraine and inflation and all the things linked to it are probably having a bit of an impact as well. And again, is it weather events getting worse? I mean, last week that was all I heard on the news in relation to the kind of heat wave we were seeing in the UK. And then of course potentially reinsurance. So yeah, I mean, I think the market's growing, but is it because there's more opportunity, or is it because the world's become more expensive and more risky? That's probably the point I'd make. How about you?
Yeah,
Mark?
I completely agree. I mean, putting my pet detective hat on, I just Googled it. Vet fee cost inflation in the past 5 years. Have a guess.
In the past 5 years?
Past 5 years.
25%?
No, more.
I have no idea.
50%. 50%.
Yeah, 50%.
50%. And that's in a market where you can't just turn up tomorrow and change your rates. You have to wear that cost. And if you don't see that coming, it's going to hit you in the face like a sledgehammer. So quite a lot of companies have been burned quite badly and are still kind of suffering. I think I saw something about Lemonade only just got their rates reapproved in California. I was thinking, oh my God, they've been rinsed for however long. So yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's certainly in the pet space. And when I look at quotes in America, it's expensive, but vet care is really expensive, and everyone's kind of playing catch up.
I think the challenge you see with this kind of stuff, right? We're hearing about it in the supermarket, and your food shop costs more because it's, costs more to get it there, and all of that kind of good stuff. And I think when you see these kind of sensationalized numbers posted by big insurance companies, especially in the UK, when customers think, God, what do I get for my insurance? They take a big premium, they're making God knows how much money, they're all having a whale of a time. But they've charged more premium, but everything else costs more. Claims are bigger, customers are under pressure, everyone still wants better service for less money. It's all of the same challenges are happening in the insurance industry, I would say, as they are everywhere else. So actually, it's great to put that out there, but it'd be great to put some context around it sometimes, just so that, people that don't necessarily understand the market can kind of see that, we're all feeling it in all industries, right?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that, P&C is typically a much more of a legislated, a required product, right? If you want to drive a car, if you want to own a home, if you want to own a business, you have to have some insurance coverage, whereas life and health are more sort of discretionary. So I found it interesting that the growth stats were lower in P&C, because you would think that, or the premium, right? We're talking about, sort of dollar premium. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's just more opportunity for growth in the life and health markets because there's more market to capture, more opportunity, less of an insured population. Again, that glosses over the nuance in all different regions and all different sort of subsegments of each of those lines. But I do think that, health costs. I think there was a stat later in the article saying that the US represents 70% of global health premiums. So of that 1.7 trillion, what's 70%, over $1 trillion of that, right, is just the US. So if there's also health cost inflation, or the input cost, the claims cost, is inflating there as well, that's going to drive your premium growth, right? Or a large chunk of the premium growth. So, definitely interesting stats. I think it does, to your point, Lloyd, it helps to put things in perspective. There was an interesting change talking about consumer friendliness of insurance. There was interesting change on auto insurance or motor insurance in Ontario, the province that I live in Canada, where they have just passed a bill to strip out a ton of previously mandatory coverages. So when you used to buy auto insurance in Ontario, you would have to, you would just paid like one sort of comprehensive premium, and it included a bunch of add-ons, income protection, critical illness benefits, things like that. And so the bill is allowing those to be optional, and effectively, it's going to allow individuals to strip those out. I think it'll be interesting to see what insurers' experience is going forward, and whether, like, what happens with those premiums going forward. Do the optionals, can they stand on their own? Do they have legs on their own? Does it make the core product, more expensive in the future or going forward as well? But I do think that we're seeing consumer pressure to change some of these products as well.
I think the biggest thing for me, and we're talking to these guys all the time, which is great. So we get the inside track, but it's great. It's a great headline number. I hope there's lots of positives in that headline number for sure. But there's still so much more opportunity for these guys. It could be even better. We know that businesses need to move quicker. They need access to better data. We know the AI story is a big thing right now, and it's great that ICE Tech are doing lots in that space. Launching products quicker, reacting to new opportunities, taking cost out through automation. So actually, if that's the number today, there's still so much scope for it to be even better, which excites me even more.
Yeah, I agree. That's your wheelhouse, right, Lloyd, is in the P&C space. So to hear that there's even greater opportunity within an already sort of heavily saturated market, it is exciting. I think for anybody who's in or adjacent to the industry. Yeah. What do you think about emerging risks? Mark, you mentioned sort of, you touched on climate a little bit, right? I think the new word, it might be Webster's word of 2026, is polycrisis. This concept of just this crazy confluence of events, all of these seemingly disruptive things happening in parallel. What's your thought on, yeah, the emerging world, whether it's cyber, whether it's climate? How do you insure for it? How do you strip out what is attributed to one crisis factor versus another?
Yeah, I don't really know, to be honest. I mean, obviously, climate is huge, um, and I guess parts of the eastern seaboard in the States is almost becoming uninsurable. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I mean, actually, just thinking about it here, I mean, I don't know what it will mean for the travel sector, but like, if we're continuing to go on holiday during massive heat bombs, that is going to have an impact on claims. So I think that's kind of what I think about. I mean, cyber's also obviously a key risk, and with AI models that can unpick your security within a few hours, how we handle that is going to be key.
Yeah, but travel's sort of a funny use case for this discussion, right? Because uh, there's a lot of parametric solutions in travel, and a lot of those parametric solutions, they automatically settle a claim when a flight gets canceled, right? Why are flights getting canceled on, on an increased basis now? You've got fuel surcharge that could now become a parametric cause, right? Or a parametric event that triggers.
So how does the fuel surcharge work?
Well, if fuel goes above, let's say, $200 a barrel, right, and then the input cost for the airline to actually fly that plane, if airlines are losing money on flights, they're going to stop flying flights, right, and that then triggers the cancellation claim. So I think travel's so uniquely positioned because it's subject to a lot of these
External
geopolitical,
factors. Yeah,
geopolitical external factors that are happening, right? Whether
yeah.
it's conflict in a region that immediately voids somebody's insurance coverage, whether it is like I said, I mean, the input cost of fuel, or the sort of margin pressure the airlines are facing. um I it's there's a tremendous amount of instability being a travel insurer these days.
So are premiums going up now, do you think, because
Yeah,
of what's gone on in Iraq? Iran.
I think so. I mean, it's not. I think global travel premiums are going up more based on U.S. Healthcare cost inflation. U.S. is a massive travel destination. It's a massive global travel destination. It's it's quite a popular claims destination for travelers as well, right? People go to the U.S. and get sick and end up in hospital. So I think that's more driving, premium growth, certainly for regions that have a high population of travelers into the U.S. I don't know, with what's happening in the Middle East, I don't know how big the travel and tourism sector was there prior to the conflict. So I don't know that that's a huge impact. Um, but obviously, airlines are canceling flights. Airlines are having to reroute, which is making more expensive flights. Obviously, like I said, their input costs are higher because oil prices are higher. So that's impacting on the cancellation side. But I think it's probably the health cost inflation that would be driving premiums up more than that.
Make sure you got your travel insurance, Lloyd, for the States.
Yeah.
I have got it with an insurer that we were just talking about, so I'm sure they'll look after me really well, which is good. Which is good. I think the emerging risk one's an interesting one, isn't it? I used to kind of think about this a little bit when working at Lloyd's. You got to see some quite niche type products working in the Lloyd's market, and cyber was the talk of the day. But there's so many now. It's like cyber, climate, geopolitical kind of events and things like that. And actually, almost a lot of these things they almost merge into one. So they're not really thinking about one thing anymore. They're all kind of interconnected. So it's kind of interesting to see where that goes. I think one for me that I think is going to become more and more talked about, I think, is probably AI. I'm all in on AI. Definitely. I'm out there selling the things that we're kind of developing internally, and it's doing wonders for me personally, from a work perspective. I think it's great, but there's also some AI out there that's not improving workflows, that's not helping claims be settled quicker. There's AI out there that's creating fraudulent pictures. There's AI out there that's creating misinformation. So, there's definitely some concern there around kind of like decision-making bias and some of that kind of things that, people are already asking us questions about. So actually, does that then become a product in its own right?
Well,
almost
also,
insuring
you think
against kind of
about
AI.
think about companies adopting AI and the AI getting the answer wrong and people not realizing straight away, and then suddenly you're hit with a liability claim because you've done AI perhaps not as well as you should have done. So I think that'll be an interesting
And when does
dimension.
someone deploy some kind of AI that then creates a cyber risk and it leaks into, you can see where these kind of emerging risks and potentially, new product lines could effectively almost be like one type of combined offering potentially.
Yeah, you could.
I just read a headline that there's apparently now 1.7 billion people, or about 1.7 Elon Musk. No, I'm just kidding. There's about 1.7 billion people that are now using AI. I think probably the majority of those are just AI bots that have self-replicated, because I don't think it's actually that many. But 1.7 billion people, and only 3% of those 1.7 billion pay for some sort of AI subscription, right? So a lot of it is just, to your point, Lloyd, it's people who are using a free account to make stuff, and they could be making bad things. They could be making, falsified documents under a sort of pseudonym account or whatever the case might be. So it is a big risk. I think because it's been so quickly adopted, it's heartening to see regulators are much more responsive to the mass adoption of AI, and try to craft regulation around it. Because I think it was sort of, the boat was missed to some extent with e-commerce, and was definitely missed with social media becoming more pervasive. So it is heartening to see that they're getting more in front of it. I was reading the other day that, a couple things. There's been this sort of boomerang effect around AI layoffs and hiring. So, I think we've all read the headlines. There was, sort of pretty big disruptions to the job market. And I think that's, been telegraphed in terms of, one of the fallout effects of mass AI adoption. But there's actually been this sort of tremendous boomerang effect. And I think that it goes with the maturity of the solution. And it's odd to talk about the maturity of something that's really only 12 months old. But, as it becomes more of a clear picture from a consumer landscape, how people are going to be interacting with these tools and services, I think the dust will settle from a business landscape as well. And there has been quite a big rebound in the job market. So companies that had previously done sort of mass layoffs and attributed it to efficiencies are now rehiring a lot of folks back. Maybe those efficiencies were overstated. Maybe they weren't indicative of their entire operations. I don't know, but I was interested to see that headline flash across as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think there's a lot of uncertainty in the market in general. AI is just another factor that plays into it, and I think to a certain extent, nations are waiting to see how things will pan out. Maybe that you can't stop hiring forever, and then there's also succession as well. If you're not filling your workforce up from the bottom, then as people leave at the top, who's coming through? You need to build that core competence. So I think people are starting to get a little bit more alive to that issue as well.
Yeah.
I think for me, just don't get carried away with it, right? I mean, how awkward is it going back and trying to rehire someone that you've laid off because of AI? It's kind of like throwing away the instructions and building the IKEA wardrobe and then digging back through the trash to find the instructions because you get halfway through it and you can't get it done.
What are these 6 screws for?
Yeah, exactly that. I think it's, AI always, I think for me, everything I've seen from an AI perspective in a demo, you kind of look at it and you think, wow, amazing. This is just going to solve all my problems. But actually, buy it, try it, bed it in, incorporate it into what's already there, and then make decisions rather than kind of, play with it for a couple of weeks and think, oh my God, right, great. I don't need these kind of 20 people. I think that's really sad, going down that kind of path. I think, definitely I get it. There's things that the machine can do that people don't need to do, and there's efficiencies to be made, and there's ways of deploying people into roles doing things that you absolutely need a human for. But I think, just live with it for a bit. Don't make any rash decisions.
Yeah, I think the speed and the power of it is disruptive. I think that the speed at which you can do things and the power insofar as the breadth of what you can actually do with a lot of the tools is disruptive. It's changing the way people are working. Lloyd, you said it yourself, right? It's just changed the way that you're working on a day-to-day basis, but it doesn't remove people from the equation. And I think that was maybe where we start to get ahead of ourselves was to say that, well, it is going to sort of automate the future. It's going to change the way things are done and things will be automated. But, I think people are still a critical component to that, at least again, in the here and now. Right. Yeah, I think we're still early in the adoption life cycle. And hopefully with more regulatory involvement, we're not going to go off the rails with it and, just all forget how to read and write and do math because we can ask ChatGPT.
If I was throwing one thing into the mix that kind of worries me, it really worries me actually, and I think I was mentioning it to you guys before, but it's the amount of time I see my kids with the Snapchat AI assistant kind of like doing the rounds on their homework. And
Yeah.
I'm like, all of a sudden I'm kind of like, wow, my kids are really good at homework. They just come in and get it done. But the amount of times I see them using it, I'm like, guys, you're going to have to try and learn this stuff as well, right? You can't just get AI to do it for you.
Oh, the other thing that really winds me up, and apologies in advance if I offend anyone, but there's a lot of AI slop on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Where
Tons.
someone's just posted some stuff and then they've pressed a button and they've written 6 paragraphs and it's just, oh, really? You didn't write that.
But I'm a firm believer in the cyclical nature of things, and I think we'll be bombarded. Yeah, we'll be bombarded with this stuff, and so then what will actually shine is what's authentic and what's real.
Absolutely.
And I worry. Again, I'm biased. I have young kids, so I'm just worried that, to your point, Lloyd, the foundation isn't getting established. Like, we're all sitting here as middle-aged individuals that have learned all of these things and can critically think and critically reason. We got the opportunity to do that without this super tool that could have bypassed those processes, right? So,
Sure.
I do think that's again why I'm heartened that regulators getting more involved, because it will hopefully set age restrictions on these things. It will hopefully influence the education sector. I'll reserve my comments on social media and what a catastrophe that's been for another episode. Or maybe I'll go off on a tangent on my own and surprise you guys with one of these.
Plenty going on in that space in the UK as well, where the kids are concerned. So yeah, we can definitely talk about that one.
Yeah. But again, I mean, I think just to sort of close this one off, it still is dominating the news cycle. It's still dominating the headlines from a business standpoint. But I've seen, I don't know about you guys, but sort of maybe we can just leave on this last point. I've seen a tonal shift as far as the communication around AI, where it's much less sort of aspirational and much more grounded, realistic, focused on automation, focused on real outcomes, and sort of demystifying all of the magic.
Yeah, I'd go with that actually. I think people are being a bit more focused and more kind of laser guided in terms of I want it to do this thing, or I want it to do this 5 things, rather than it can do everything. And I think, it comes back to that point before. Put it in, get it doing a couple of things, live with it, and then kind of evolve it from there. So I agree with that.
We've just signed up a large US pet insurer to use AI on the web journey. And it's a very, very focused thing that they're trying to do. It's completely measurable. We're going to do it in a short time frame, So we're getting a little bit more kind of laser focused on what AI is going to do. So it's not this nebulous thing anymore. Is it working for us or is it not? So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, should be good.
Yeah. Great. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap it up, guys. Thanks for the chat today. And
cool. I need to go and put my lion costume on, so I've got a dash.
Enjoy the rest of Canada Day, Elliott. Make sure you have some fun, celebrate. Hopefully I can celebrate the 3 lions. And
thank you.
Enjoyed it today.
Yeah, we'll see you guys in the round of 16. All right.
Talk to you guys next week.
Take care.
Bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye.